Disclaimer, I do not dislike CinemaSins, and that is not a lie. For my next Everything Wrong with CinemaSins video, I'm going to be sending their video on Shrek 2. And I also want to say one other thing that I probably should have pointed out in earlier videos, and I'm not sure why I didn't. If you want to follow me and see what I'm up to outside of YouTube, or see when I advertise videos, all you have to do is just follow me on Instagram at Doherty5885. Enjoy the video. First of all, 50 sins for even thinking of sending this movie.
So the premise of Pixar's Up was surprisingly inspired by this DreamWorks logo in a Shrek movie.
Two things. One, I'm pretty sure that wasn't why Up was made. Two, this logo has been used in a lot of other DreamWorks movies.
Till the sun went down, and they saw that their daughter was cursed with a frightful enchantment.
Prince Charming got the revised copy of the story Shrek was reading in the outhouse at the beginning of the last film, because this is the exact same story, only with extra details.
This is Jeremy just explaining what is happening on the screen.
Traveling for many days and nights, risking life and limb to reach the Dragon's Keep.
Is it just me, or is it creepy that the prince traveled all this way just to get it on with a woman he doesn't even know, even though he's on a mission? I mean, I know we're a long way from Tinder, but this is pretty f***ing desperate.
I think that it's just you, Jared, because in most fairy tales, princesses marry men that they've just met. And fairy tales is something that this movie is a play on, and this franchise in general.
So, nice pork illustrated joke, but this is taking a love of ham to a sexual extreme that I didn't know existed until I saw it in this kid's movie.
Two things. One, this line is coming from the man who makes cringe sexual jokes. Two, animated films are allowed to have adult jokes.
Baby, I'm in love. Think about it every time I think about it.
Sure, it's not as objectionable as Smash Mouth's All-Star, but Counting Crows is the best you can do movie. It's 2004. Was Ashley Simpson not a...
Sinning accidentally in love. That's worth 75 sins.
There's inadvertently invents a new category on Pornhub called ogering.
All they're doing is kissing here, and I'm giving you 10 sins for that line.
The ocean pull off this trick? And why did this mermaid harlot start immediately kissing Shrek when she was thrown into it? And does Fiona really think a mermaid wanted to f*** Shrek? I am so confused.
First of all, the ocean wasn't the one pulling this off. It was just a big wave. Second, all this is a reference to The Little Mermaid.
Shrek movie is unable to hold in a fart joke for more than 5 minutes.
So, that was also the case with the first film.
We're supposed to believe these trumpet players walked the entire way from far, far away to Shrek Swamp, a distance that will be nauseatingly recreated in the next scene.
Even though the movie never shows us how the messengers got to the swamp, there is nothing that suggests that they walked there.
They're my parents, Shrek. They love me.
They love you so much, they put you in a f***ing castle thousands of miles away, guarded by a dragon, and only by the luckiest of circumstances could you ever return.
They wanted to do what was best for Fiona, and the fairy godmother encouraged them to do just that, as part of her plan.
They just want to give you their blessing.
Now I need their blessing?
Jesus, what was the point of the first movie if Shrek's just gonna reboot to being a sandy butthole, just so he can learn to open up again?
That's not the point. Shrek's skeptical about going because people have judged him as an ogre his entire life. So this is you sending characterization.
This song, originally titled Off, was written by Nile Rodgers after being denied entrance to Studio 54, and Mike Myers played Steve Rubell in the movie about Studio 54. All this to say, this is the only interesting pop culture reference in this movie, and I'm 99% certain it was unintentional.
That's true, but what does that have to do with this film? I guess what I'll say here is Jeremy says something random cliche.
Are we there yet?
It's easy for me to say this goes on for some time because this Are We There Yet bullshit goes on forever. So, because it's an overlong joke wrapped loosely by a cliche, I'm gonna add 5 cents.
Sinning Are We There Yet? That's worth 25 sins.
So, if I didn't live through it, you would have never convinced me that this movie made nearly $1 billion worldwide, and was once the 3rd highest grossing film of all time.
The fact that this movie was very successful is not something wrong with it.
Seriously, this movie is f***ing 82 minutes without counting the credits. I'm convinced the initial cut was 23 before they started adding shit like this.
Pretty sure it wasn't. How are you unaware that movies are over an hour?
Kingdom of Far, Far Away has a Burger Prince, but it's tucked away behind a whole bunch of other shops. Someone forgot to tell these assholes about the importance of location, location, location.
I don't really think location matters, and also this is you just pointing things out on the screen.
I suppose that would be a fine place to raise the children.
Listen, if the movie continues to pad its runtime with overlong silliness like this, I will continue to sin that.
And if you continue to pad the sin count with overlong sapless sins like this, I will continue to sin you.
It's great, okay?
Well, for his type, yes.
This movie could have been some really subversive if Fiona had stayed a human princess. Perhaps a fun take on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But it sold out this couple in order to make more fart jokes.
Again, I'm pretty sure it didn't. Also, Fiona didn't stay human because of the take love's true form part of her curse.
This dinner with a full turkey, a lobster, a giant fish, and a pig really meant for 4 people, even if 2 of them are ogres?
Yes, this is a celebratory dinner, and people of royalty have large feasts.
What's new?
You remember my son, Prince Charming?
Charming!
Holy Prince Charming is Fairy Godmother's son? How the did they this up?
All DreamWorks did here is reverse the roles of Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming because in the original fairy tales, they are good guys. And I guess they thought that Charming being the son of the Fairy Godmother would be a nice evil addition.
I endured blistering winds, scorching desert.
Mummy can handle this. He endures blistering winds and scorching desert.
This movie in a nutshell. Do something, then have somebody repeat that something, then fart or have Donkey do something annoying.
That is not this movie in a nutshell.
Director said, let's make this tavern sign a bite out of an apple. It'll make it look like even more of an asshole.
1. The sign is a reference to Snow White. 2. Don't you send characters for biting an apple?
My town with a little drop of poison.
Oh man, they dragged poor Tom Waits into this, didn't they?
Pretty sure he was glad to be part of this film, not disappointed.
The fucking eels are on this soundtrack? The quality ratio of the music to the movie is approaching Purple Rain status.
This is a case of Jeremy singing something he likes because he confirms in his Shrek the Third video that he loves the eels.
Though her alter ego is an ogre-looking being, Fiona's parents bought her a terrifying ogre toy when she was a kid.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Sleeping Beauty is having a slumber party tomorrow.
That's a good joke, but was she really called Sleeping Beauty when she was a kid? And do all the fairy tale princesses live in the same era?
Yes, that's established in Shrek the Third.
Just really need to make things work with this guy.
But what you really need to be doing is making that Scottish accent reappear.
Which is a weird thing to hear from you since you questioned Shrek being Scottish when you sinned the verse film.
Really starting to think that the script for this movie was like 13 original lines and the rest was just references to other better movies.
This franchise does have a lot of pop culture references, but there are more than just 13 original lines in this movie.
Also, the movie confirms the fact that ogres have testicles in the same place as human, which is a question I didn't realize I had.
And the first film already answered that with this scene.
For you. It was nothing personal to you.
Puss in Boots is apparently such a badass that he's the one guy with a reputation of being an ogre killer, but he's defeated by Shrek picking him up by the back of the fucking neck. Damn it, this movie's stupid.
275 cents for calling this fantastic movie a stupid movie.
The saddest thing that's ever happened to you.
I don't know, it may be hard to find a copy of The Adventures of Pluto Nash out here.
Jeremy says something random cliche.
Jesus Christ, the logic in this movie. This is supposed to be Fiona's fairy godmother. You're saying she appears for anyone that cries in the entire world?
Misunderstanding scenes again. The fairy godmother's bubble is appearing for Shrek, Donkey, and Puss because they have her teardrop card.
Pinch of passion.
Hard to believe that a fairy godmother with this kind of power wasn't able to just turn Fiona into an all-day human with a simple little bit of magic. Charming would have married her, none of this would have happened.
1. Fairy godmother would not do that because she's the villain. 2. It's believed that she was the one who cursed Fiona in the first place.
Do you think you could get to those on top?
How does Shrek know what any of these do, let alone whether the ones on the top work on his particular problem?
Shrek doesn't know what any of the potions do, and all he's asking Puss to do is climb the shelves that he can't reach so that he can read the potion labels.
People are so bad at shooting, I'm shocked Donkey doesn't make a Stormtrooper reference.
Says the guy who sins movies for pop culture references.
He will rue the very day he stole my kingdom from me!
The script of these movies have notes in the margins that say, when in doubt, do something involving gas or poop. Remember your George of the Jungle training.
Not always the case there, Jer.
Hey man, this don't feel right.
Donkey waits to object to this plan until after they've gone to the factory, broken in, stole the potion, and made their escape.
Donkey clearly objected to the plan while they were in the factory. If you were actually paying attention, you would know that.
Shrek, I think you grabbed a 40 ever after potion.
Have I mentioned this movie made nearly $1 billion?
Yes.
Movie goes for that sweet Sanford & Sons nostalgia that drove kids wild back in 2004.
And this movie was released in 2004, Mr. PCRs are my thing.
It was a mistake to bring Shrek here. I'm gonna go out and find him, and then we're gonna go back to the swamp where we belong.
I guess she made this decision while thinking about her love for Shrek over the course of the day, even though she hasn't seen him since their unresolved argument last night. And the only thing she's discovered is that he abandoned her after reading her diary.
This is Jeremy just explaining what we didn't see on screen.
I know it's a happily ever after potion, and Shrek and Fiona's love tie them together over space and time like Interstellar, and I'm completely fine with that. But if it requires two people in love to work, why would it turn a mushroom into a rose? And why wouldn't the potion have some sort of crossover effect between Shrek, Donkey, and the mushroom? And if Donkey changes into a stallion, why doesn't it turn Dragon into a filly or Catherine the Great?
The potion label never mentioned a crossover between different things.
Make the effects of this potion permanent. The drinker must obtain his true love's kiss by midnight.
What a shitty potion if it has these kind of rules. I mean, the potion affected Fiona without her even drinking it. Shouldn't that already be proof of true love without a fucking kiss?
Well, this is in the context of if they want the change to be permanent.
So how did Fairy Godmother know that Shrek would take the potion before getting back to the castle, setting up these shenanigans?
Well, you cut out the scene that answers your question, which is this.
Pardon? Everything is accounted for, Fairy Godmother. Except for one potion.
What?
If you really love her, you'll let her go.
Wait, she fucking let him go? I mean, he could have said anything to get out of the room, then walked right back up to Fiona and won her back, right? Jesus, the silly conflicts this movie throws in for no reason are maddening.
Well, Shrek was too heartbroken to do that.
People just ain't no good.
Man, this cover of Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah sounds f***ed up.
No, it doesn't.
I believe you're gonna just walk away from the best thing that ever happened to you.
What choice do I have?
Lots! You could even tell Fiona about the mix-up and let her decide. Crazy, right?
Well, Shrek does do that later on after figuring out the ruse.
Thank you, Mother.
Mother!
Back at ya.
Mice, pass me a buffalo wing!
I can believe in magic and monsters and spells and potions, but I refuse to believe that this fucking gingerbread man can fully consume a chicken wing.
Dude, you're saying this in the context of a talking gingerbread man.
Be surprised how much I changed for your mother.
Change? He's completely lost his mind.
Let's back up a second. All we've seen is Fiona talking to Prince Charming one time. And yes, things were a little off, but we haven't seen any other interaction between these two that would sell the fact that Prince Charming makes a horrible Shrek.
But Harold did say this.
Well, I'm afraid Fiona isn't really warming up to Prince Charming.
What the movie doesn't show is the giant gingerbread man smashing up the poor muffin man's house after he agreed to this stupid plan. You know?
Well, Mongo's a good guy, so why would he destroy the home of his creator?
Well, I'm glad this movie didn't get made past the year 2008, or else we would have had DreamWorks looking for a gingerbread man versus Pillsbury Doughboy franchise. Throw in the Jolly Green Giant and Mothra while you're at it.
Jeremy says something random cliche.
If the spell the fairy godmother shot towards Shrek bounced off the king's armor, then how did it change him into a frog?
Harold was originally a frog, based on the Frog Prince, and the fairy godmother made him human, so the spell wore off when she died.
Is this what you want? To be this way forever?
It's not so much what she wants, but what the studio and the people paying to see Shrek movies want.
It is about what Fiona wants. Shrek changed his entire form for her.
I see the exact same transformation that I saw in the last movie. I just had a thought. This movie's no different from the original. It's about Fiona accepting who Shrek is, denying another prince a chance to marry her, and changing into an ogre in the end, with a few extra characters sprinkled in.
Yes, those bits are similar, but this movie has a different storyline from its predecessor, and also the transformation in this movie is different from the first one. Yes, it does go from blue to gold, but the one in the first movie had more dust than this one.
All by myself.
Haha, you thought mid-credit scenes were a Marvel creation, but Shrek's the real culprit for this cultural abomination.
10 cents for calling mid-credit scenes a cultural abomination.
Great, now I'm going to be thinking all day about how a donkey gets his penis into a dragon vagina.
Jeremy makes an inappropriate comment cliche. And here is the end result, everybody. This in total was 729, and the sentence will be a new form. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have a nice day.